Hi, and welcome to the Thriving and Surviving podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Markson, and I'm a mum, an entrepreneur, a coach, and most importantly, I'm someone that loves to make waves, break stigmas, and challenge beliefs. Think of this podcast as a wine and cheese night with your besties, sharing your deepest and darkest thoughts and struggles, but also learning a thing or two. So whether you're thriving or just surviving, this podcast is here to enlighten you, heighten you, and most certainly brighten you. So let's dive right in, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Thriving and Surviving podcast. I am here with Beck Thomas. She is a hairdressing salon owner. She's been in the industry for 15 years now?
Yeah.
15. And she's recently being diagnosed with autism and ADHD, which we are going to dive into. She's also, her relationships are in the poly space, which I'm very excited to talk about because I do not know much about that at all. So thank you, Beck, for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We're going to start with how you and I actually know each other.
Oh, God. Oh, no. This could be bad or it
Beck
could be
has
good.
in fact been doing my hair since we were about 15.
Yes, I have been doing the old dye in the kitchen at my mum's house. We've done that a few times.
Yeah.
When you were a brunette. Oh, God.
Oh, and yeah, look, I've had all of the, no, you've had all of the hair colours of the rainbow, not me. But Beck and I did actually go to high school together. So
we did.
It's been really exciting because I feel like I've gotten to watch you go from doing about 100 apprentices, like your apprenticeship that just never seemed to end.
Yeah, I kept starting again. I wasn't sure if it was for me or if I was meant to be doing it, but eventually I landed one that stuck, and here we are.
And here you are now with your own salon. So how did that come about? What made you want to branch out on your own?
Oh, wow. It kind of, I don't want to say it fell into my lap, but it kind of did. I was going through a divorce at the time, which was kind of crazy. And I was working at a salon that I had only actually just started working at. I had been there for maybe 4 or 5 months at the time. And yeah, the salon owners were like, hey, we are going to sell the business. Do you want to own it? And I ummed and ahed about it for a long time because I just went, am I ready for this? Like, is this what I want? Because owning a salon never really was on the cards for me. It's not something that I predicted in my future. It's not something that I kind of forecasted, but I really needed something to kind of keep me motivated and just get my mind off everything that was going, because it was just a weird time in my life. I was sad about my divorce, but I wasn't at the same time.
I feel that.
It was kind of like a catch-22. I was sad that I was getting divorced, but I wasn't sad about the relationship ending. And then,
that was a while ago. 25? No.
I was 25 at the time when I got married, and I got divorced at 26. So super quick turnaround. But I ended up buying the salon with a business partner of mine, and we ended up separating ways. But I've had it for 6 years now. So it kind of just fell into my lap, and it's been a huge roller coaster of learning and just everything. Yeah.
I feel like you've really niche down on your clientele as well the longer you've had the salon. I know that you've got the gender neutral salon, and it's really big on that inclusivity, which I love.
I think something that was really important for me, especially in the last couple of years, kind of as I learned a bit more about myself, as I learned a little bit more about just life, I think, as turning 30 and stuff like that, I just went you know what, I just wanted a space that felt safe for everyone. Not just women, not just men, not just non-binary people, not just trans people. I wanted a space that anyone at any point of their life could walk in and go, hey, I feel safe here and I feel comfortable. And that was really important to me. And I think in my industry, especially at the moment, there's so many blonde salons and all of these really niche things popping up, and it's just where are the spaces that are just for everyone? And I love that we do have these pockets for these more niche communities, but I think there is a broader spectrum of what's out there, and that was what I wanted to achieve.
I feel like you have.
I feel like I have. I feel like we still have a really long way to go in our journey, but I feel like we're definitely like on the right path now. Like I feel like we've got the foundation there and we're only just going to get bigger and better, I think.
Well, I mean, having your own business is a constant learning curve. And I mean, when you first start, you kind of just need clients because you need income and you're not really thinking about what client do I actually want coming through my doors. And it takes a bit of time to develop that.
Absolutely. And I think like you obviously know this as well, like going through like business change, like, you know, having a business partner and then branching out on your own, and like you like start with an identity, like with a business partner, and you feel like you know what you want to do and you know what you want to achieve. But then like when that relationship like ends or like breaks down or like, you know, you separate ways for whatever reason, you almost have to like do this little like check again and be like, is this really like who I am? Is this really what I want? And like, when I separated from my business partner, it made me just go, okay, like I've just been making money and I've been successful so far, but like, is this the success that I want? Like, am I reaching the people that I want to reach, or am I just making money? And that was the kind of pivotal moment for me that I was like, okay, this isn't about making money anymore. It's about actually creating a culture and a space. And I think from there, the money comes and like the success comes.
It's like ticking those other passion boxes, right? Other than just the business logistics. It's like those extra bits that kind of make you feel fulfilled in what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like if you don't have like, I personally think if you don't pour like your personal heart and soul into your business, like what's the point? Like,
I feel like that's the key as well to being successful and creating like why your business is different from anyone else's, because you are different from everyone else. So if you're pouring yourself into it, your business is going to be unique.
Yeah. And I always like, it's my favorite saying and I say it all the freaking time, but like your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
Like it's so cliche, but it's so true. Like if you like put your energy, like what you want out there, like the world will give back to you, and it will give back to you like in tenfold. Yeah, exactly.
No, I totally agree. How did you find the transition of going from having a business partner to solo?
Oh God. It was awful. Like, I'm not going to lie. It was really hard. I think the biggest thing for me was like, I actually had to go through like a grieving process. Like I owned a salon with someone who was my best friend at the time. Like, we essentially lived in each other's pockets. We lived around the corner from each other. Yeah. We would carpool to work together. We would hang out together on the weekends. Like, we did everything together.
Joined at the hip.
Yeah, literally. And like, I still have so much respect for her. Like, she's gone on a completely different journey. And yeah, I had to like, do like this whole self-discovery thing again. And yeah, it was almost like starting all over again. Yeah. It was like, even though I had all these systems.
It's like going through a breakup, right?
Yeah, it was. It was like going through like the worst breakup. It was like, I felt it was worse than my marriage at some points, because I wanted to maintain this friendship, and I wanted to maintain the relationship that I had built with her, because we had built a really successful business on it, and it meant a lot to me. So like navigating through that was really tricky, and I'm sure you understand.
I remember what I went through similar with Emma when we obviously trained with the girls and then sort of did my thing on the own, and we were like, this is so weird. We just have calls now where we just talk about each other's lives, so it's not about work.
Yeah.
So it's this whole other space.
Yeah, and that transition from going from like business partners to just friends, again, is like so tricky. Like when you start off as friends, because there is so much tension when you own a business with a friend or like a family member or something. Like, you have to be really critical, and you have to be really like to the point and really blunt, and it can be really harsh, like when you're speaking to someone that you would not normally talk to like that, or like not in that sense. Like when you
got your work hat on, it's a little bit,
Like, I know I really struggled because I was so, I don't want to say blasé, but I am so like, the wind will take me wherever I want to go in life type thing. Yeah. And I had to be really critical, and I had to be really like put my foot down at work, and setting boundaries was really hard, but I had to be like, this is workspace. I'm work Beck. Yeah. I'm not at home Beck who is going to like let you walk all over me and do whatever where the wind goes. Like, I had to be really like.
It is so hard when you do have different hats and putting them in, particularly if it's with people that you have that interaction with whilst you're wearing the different hats, to step into those different roles.
Yeah, because the lines get so blurred, like so blurred and so easily. Like, and as much as we tried to be like, we'll only talk about work at work, or like when we're in our work meetings, like it just doesn't happen like that. Like my business is my life. I work on it all the time, like 24/7. Like I'm never not thinking about my work.
Yeah.
So like, it just becomes like so ingrained into you. So like switching hats, like when you're working with someone so closely, like that is difficult. And then when that relationship breaks down or like your pathways go in different directions, you're like, oh, now it's just me. And
it's a bit lonely, isn't it?
Like when
you're used to having someone to bounce off and chat through decisions and everything.
Yeah,
and
it's,
oh no, I'm just left unattended to make all of these executive decisions by myself with no supervision.
I know, and I feel like definitely my first year, I'm even going to say my first 2 years out of like that, like being on my own, I really struggled. Like I really didn't know what direction I wanted to go in. I didn't even know if like owning a salon was for me. Like I thought about shutting my salon more times than I can count. Like,
well, you do love, getting your hands dirty and actually being in there on the floor. And as you know, like with running a business, there is so much that happens in the back end, and it's very hard to be in two places at once.
Yeah, and it is. It's like you've got to split yourself down the middle and like really try and find a good balancing. And I haven't quite found it yet, but I mean, like I'm definitely like implementing things, and like business is a journey, and like every year is different. And I think since COVID, it's been like a whole whirlwind of like, just in any industry, I think everyone's rediscovering things for the first time. We're trying to learn how to exist in the world again for the first time after COVID. So I think like, we're 5 years out, but like we're still like in that baby journey of like recovering from that. And I think business owners, and especially small business owners, are probably feeling that the most.
It was brutal. Like I know I got shut down, you got shut down. Like we were just like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, I was like, how do I pay my staff? Like
especially that's it, right? It's not just you. When you're, it's one thing, when you're a sole trader and it's just worrying about your own income. But once you have employees and suddenly you're responsible for not only your own livelihood but other people's, that comes with pressure.
Yeah, it does. It comes with a lot of pressure, and I think that's always at the forefront of my mind is like making sure my team is happy and making sure all the decisions that I'm making are going to be beneficial not only for my business but for my team as well. Like I want to make sure they're happy, because if they're not happy, they're not going to stick around.
Well, I mean, it's like, they say happy wife, happy life. It's literally the same in
It's
business.
the same thing in business. Like if your employees aren't happy, like they're not going to stick around. Like they're going to go find better.
I feel like you're not going to get the best versions of them if they don't want to be there.
100%. 100%. They're just going to walk all over you. They're going to turn up sick, or they're not going to show up at all. And
It is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting journey. I'm very excited for us talking about your relationship. So I'm going to just
oh, goodness.
right around. So I know you've already said, obviously we had the brief marriage and divorce.
Yes, brief marriage and divorce.
What happened from then?
Okay, what happened after my divorce? I was single for a long time.
Yeah.
I had
Can't relate.
Which is funny for me, because normally I'm a relationship to relationship person. And then I think once I got divorced, it kind of like forced me to go like, what the fuck are you doing? Like who are you? And like, what is it that you want? And like, what's important to you? And like, what do you value in life? And like, what are things that are important in a partner, in a relationship? And it really just got me thinking about like, what I would expect someone to want from me as a partner. And the thought of like someone expecting me to fulfill all their needs really kind of shook me and just like really made me go,
like the pressure.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't want to be the sole responsibility for someone's happiness. And that really kind of shook me and made me think about like, is like being with one person for the rest of my life, is that for me? And it made me kind of really go, okay, like, well, what else is there out there? And I kind of just started meeting some people and, reading about like different relationship types, and, polyamory was something that popped up a lot for me. And, I read a lot about it, and in all fairness, like I am not a professional in that realm at all, but,
compared to me, you are. Go on.
But like, I just felt like the more I read about it, the more it kind of resonated with me that, I feel like there are different people and different relationship types in my life that will come and go, that will be able to fill me the same way that a monogamous relationship was. Like I have a girlfriend that lives in Adelaide, and our relationship I would describe as like orbital. So she is my girlfriend, and she calls me her girlfriend, but she has a husband and kids, and she lives in Adelaide. But when I'm down in Adelaide, like our lives kind of revolve around each other, and like vice versa. If she was to come to here, like our lives would kind of revolve around each other. But once we're in our own spaces, there's no pressure to be like checking in every day, and there's no pressure to be like.
So it's different from a monogamous long distance relationship.
Yeah.
How that sort of looks.
Yeah.
It's more like a.
For us, in our case, like for me, like I didn't want the pressure put on her to feel like she had to always be there for me, and she always had to be the one to check in on me, and she always had to be the one to, you know, make sure I was feeling okay, or like if I was sad, like she was the only person I could talk to. Like I wanted to make sure that like she felt safe and comfortable in our relationship, and that I had other people. And I think in the grand scheme of things, it kind of came down to like, who are the people that I want in my life constantly loving me, supporting me, building me up, and like what will those relationships look like? And a lot of my relationships start platonic and romantically, and then like switch back, and they often go in that kind of flow, which I kind of love. It's like there's no pressure for it to be anything apart from just what it is at that point in time. Like it just makes it a little bit easier for me, especially like navigating my life and like being on my own. Like I live on my own. I've got 2 dogs. Like I own a business. Like my life is very full in that sense. So like introducing like a partner is it's a lot. And I don't ever want someone to feel like they have to fit into my life. And I'm at a very selfish stage in my life where I want to focus on me and, you know, my business and things that make me happy. So like bringing someone into that, if they're not willing to do all the things that I'm willing to do, like why would I make them sacrifice, or why would I make them do something that...
I kind of love that. I feel like I'm moving into a similar space. So I'm like, maybe this is what I need.
Yeah, and I feel like they don't always have to, you know, fit into like every part of your life. And like there's people that fit into like my work life really well, and like we balance really well. Like I'm currently seeing a guy who's an accountant, and he's so like left of center of what I would normally go for, but he's so calm and kind, and he's so level-headed, and he makes me really calm and level-headed, which is really nice. And he's so great with communication.
That must be nice.
Yeah, it is actually nice. But he's so different. But like he has other partners, and our relationship has been platonic mostly, like the last like couple of months. But yeah, it is what it is. Like we fit into each other's lives when it's convenient, not forced. Like it's nothing's ever forced. Like I'm never like, oh, I have to see you every week, or I have to talk to you every day. It just happens as it happens. And I find that really freeing and really liberating, that I don't have to constantly be checking in, or someone doesn't have to constantly be checking in with me.
So it's sort of almost like having friends with benefits, but a bit more of the emotional component.
Yeah,
almost.
I mean...
like that flexibility to not exclusively be seeing one person. You've got that sort of freedom. You've got that respect, that connection, that friendship.
Yeah, I mean, like there's still obviously like within each relationship is different, and it's really important to address that
each other's boundaries.
Yeah, each other's boundaries, what your expectations are out of that relationship as well. Like for me, a big thing for me is like, I don't want someone constantly being like, what are you doing? Like, are we going to hang out? Like that really bothers me. Like if you want to check in with me like once a week and be like, hey, have you got plans on the weekend? I'll be like, yeah, cool, let's do something. And like, we'll make it this magical experience to spend together. But like, yeah, I guess like each relationship has its different boundaries, and it's really important to make sure that you know what that person's boundaries are. Like for me, I don't really have a lot of like boundaries when it comes to my other partners and what they want to do with other partners. My 2 big boundaries are, as long as they're having protected sex and they're getting regular checks, that's fine with me. And like a big thing for me that's been a recurring issue for me in a couple of my poly relationships is like disconnect, and like the ability to disconnect with partners, because I think when you have multiple partners, like there's going to be points in time where you're spending quality time with one, which means you're going to have to disconnect from another. And issues that I've had is I've had partners just disconnect from me without warning or without
without the communication
about it. And for me, for someone that has a lot of abandonment issues, thanks Dad.
Nothing like getting like double dumped or something.
It causes a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress for me. So like that's another big thing. It's like I don't care if you have to disconnect from me. Like the disconnect is never the problem.
Give me closure.
It's the way you disconnect. It's like, hey, I've got this other partner that's coming in. I really want to spend some quality time with her. I'm not going to be talking to my other partners for the next 4 days. I'll be like, great. Have the best time. I'll talk to you in 4 days. Like, go enjoy yourself. Like, the thing that makes me the happiest is knowing that my partners are happy and safe and they're filling their cups exactly how they are, because I'm not always going to tick someone's boxes. I'm not going to tick all of them.
I don't think that a person, and I mean, maybe there's some people sitting in their relationships going like, oh, my partner does, but my personal opinion, I don't think it's possible for another person to tick all of your boxes. I do not even think it's possible.
I mean, like, again, like that's my personal opinion as well. Like, I don't think that, but I think there are obviously people in monogamous relationships.
Enough of your boxes that works for you.
They're happy and it's like, it's safe for them. And I think that's important. But yeah, like it just wasn't for me, like the thought of just like, after being with one person and the thought of being with that one person for the rest of my life, when I had to kind of sit down and go, okay, like, is that really what I want again? And I went, I don't think so.
Do you think a part of it, and this is just me spitballing, because obviously like same, different, I'm going through the divorce as well, but is there a part of you where it almost feels like having that one partner, it's almost like putting all of your eggs in one basket?
Yeah.
One person?
Yeah.
Like that's not only just like obviously like that sort of pressure you talk about, but that's like putting all of your coins at the casino on black, hoping that one person's not going to fuck you over and let you down.
Yeah, like, and it's a lot of trust you're putting into one person. You're literally putting so much trust in that person that they're going to keep you safe, that they're going to continue to love you, that they're going to, meet all your needs, like sexually, emotionally, romantically, like domestically. Like it's a lot of pressure to put on one person. And for me, like I practice what some people know as like solo polyamory, where I currently at this point in my life, I don't want a primary partner. So I'm happy to have multiple partners where I will never nest with them. So like I will never live with them. I don't plan on being, don't plan on being long-term with them, but like having that monogamish
vibe to it.
Style relationship, that's for me right now, not for me. That might change in the future, but right now, the stage of life that I'm in, it's just not what I want. It's just not how I want to live my life. I want to be able to really explore and really get to know different peoples and just deep dive into those connections, whatever they may look like. If they start off just deep and emotional, if they start off just platonic, if they start really chemically, like sexually, like I want to just go where the wind takes you. Where the wind takes me, or where my little heart desires.
And I don't know if this is because you're obviously picking, maybe it's not obvious, maybe you're not, but I'm assuming you're picking partners or finding partners that are already in the poly community, as opposed to how do you go, are you having instances where you start seeing people, you explain like this is how I operate, but they're then attached or they're struggling with your dynamics and you've got to cross that bridge?
There's definitely been recently a few people that I've connected with that, and I posted on all of my, on my social media that I'm poly. It is, it's in all my dating bios on all my dating apps that I'm poly, that I have partners as well. And I've matched with monogamous people and, I think it's really important to get that out of the way straight away, because it's not fair on them. And it's also not fair on you to start something and then, 6 months down the track, they're like, actually, I don't want you seeing anyone else. Like, I want you all to myself. Like, that's not fair for me to have to break off all my relationships just to be with this one person. Or it's not fair on them for me to be like, actually, no, I don't want to be with just you. So I think it's really important to, like, get it out of the way straight away.
Do you find even if you have that conversation, they don't change their mind?
I mean, definitely, like, there's been some instances recently.
Where they think they're cool with it and then suddenly they are not.
100%, 100%. And men especially. Men are like, it's cool, it's fine. And they think they're not emotional beings. They are emotional beings. But, like, a lot of guys will be like, no, it's fine. Like, do whatever you want. See whoever you want.
And they're just like, this is so good. I get to do this and see other people until
and then
the
second they want that next step, or, like, they want, like, the monogamous or the monogamous relationship, and they like have to put their foot down or they have to set a boundary, that's when it's like, oh, okay, this actually was never for me. And then it's you who has to be the bad guy and be like, well, like I set my boundaries from the get-go.
Yeah.
And it is a really fine line, and it is, I think it can be tricky, especially when you do connect with people really well, and it's like, oh, we have this magical connection, and like you talk really deeply with them, or you just like get on like a house on fire, to have to like almost like tiptoe and be like, how deep do I get into this? So it's, you've almost got to have really hard conversations really early on, which for a lot of people,
I think that's important even in monogamous relationships. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I think just in dating in general. Yeah. And maybe it's not something we did in our younger years because we were kind of like, but I mean, once you're in your 30s, I feel like you've kind of established, you know, what you want, what you're looking for.
I think like your core values, like you really know what your core values
rather
are.
than fucking around and finding out, you can have that conversation a little bit earlier and sort of save each other the energy and the heartbreak and everything else, having that conversation down the track.
And that is it, like the energy and the heartbreak, because even if it's not a tragic like love ending, like there is heartbreak when you have a connection with someone and it's relationship styles that don't line up, because it's like, what are we actually letting go of? It's like, oh, we're actually letting go of this really beautiful thing that we have, and you have to kind of say goodbye to it, and that's sad. And that's something I experience a lot in poly, in that like dating realm of like meeting people that are monogamous and then like maybe not monogamous, or like just.
I have really good Spotify breakup playlists if you need it.
I have made plenty of my own, so I've got them all. But it's hard, but I think like in any relationship, monogamous or poly or open or whatever it is, like communication's always
100%.
should be the most important thing, and having hard conversations early is important. And I think too many people wait until the hard things come up to have the conversation, and it's like you just have to rip the Band-Aid off and just do it straight away, because it only makes it worse if you leave it fester and let it boil and bubble in the background, and then it becomes a problem when it might not have been a problem. Like it could have been dealt with early, could have saved you heartbreak, them heartbreak. A lot of drama. But
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So continuing on, do you think, and do you think your autism, I mean, I know that it probably won't, but your autism that you've obviously, like that's been a whole other new journey for you that you've been learning about yourself, which is so funny, because when you told me you got diagnosed, my first thought was, I was like, that makes so much sense. But has that sort of been another component where, you know, you're having to navigate that in amongst relationships, when obviously relationships is all about those interpersonal relationships and body language and how you come across and reading between the lines, so to speak.
Yeah. Honestly, like until like I got my diagnosis, I used to just think I was really shit at being a girlfriend, and I was really shit at like just being a person. I was just like, I don't understand how to just exist in the world. And it was like, it was really hard. And then like, getting my diagnosis and then having to learn about that and learn about what that meant for me and what it looked like for me, because autism and because I have ADHD, which is autism and ADHD, like getting that diagnosis and then having to like almost like reframe your entire like structure of what you've built like your life around, like it's mind-blowing the fact that people go through this and like and going through it at 30 and not really, it's like you're learning about yourself for the first time. Like I had to like go back through like instances in my mind where I was like, oh, I totally get why I did that now, or
that makes
I
sense.
understand like and it's the funniest thing that actually always rings in my brain when I think about my diagnosis, and I think about like our friendship circles, and I think about our group chat often that we have, and Emma saying to you when we first met, I think Beck hates me, and you saying, no, if Beck hates you, you'll know about it. And I thought that was so funny, because I'm such a what people say is a blunt person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just to the point, and
I know.
that really comes like, that's just my autism. Like, why beat around the bush? Like, I want to know the answer. I want to get to the interesting part straight away. Like, I don't want all the fluffy bits. Like, just tell me what you're telling me. And I just find it so funny that so many people in my life, without realizing, were like, does she hate me because she's so blunt and she's so to the point?
Oh,
and
I feel
she's like
half our friendship, I was like, can't tell if Beck's mad at me or not because her communication when she's pissed and when she's not is identical.
Yeah.
So it's like, it took me a bit, whereas I was kind of like, no, I think that's just you.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's like, it's all these like little personality quirks that I thought I had that I was like, oh, they're actually
you just need to add like a little smiley face emoji in there something.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting better at that. But like, yeah, it's like, it is like, it's all these things that I've done throughout my life that I'm like, oh, that's actually just my brain processing things. And it's just how my brain is. And like figuring all that out has been such a whirlwind of like just understanding that it's so like I've had to be really compassionate with myself and really kind to myself. Like this year especially has been probably the hardest for me mentally, I think, because I got diagnosed last year. Yeah, last year, which is crazy to think. Like, so yeah, I like got diagnosed. I went through a breakup and I was living with my partners. I broke up with them, had to move out. Like it was all a big whirlwind. And yeah, I've just had to learn.
Nothing like a whole heap of change at once.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it's been cool. It's been fun learning about myself again. And it's like I imagine how kids must feel when they learn something for the first time and it brings them like so much joy, or like they have that really big emotion about something. It might be good or it might be bad. And it's like, I really enjoyed going through that, as hard as it has been sometimes. Like there's been days where I've done nothing but cry and gone, why is my brain like this? Why can't I just get it? Why can't I just do these things? Why am I sitting on the couch rotting like a potato? Like, why do I not have the capacity to like get up and do these things? And I've had to just like be able to like recheck on myself and go, actually, it's okay. Like you're allowed to be like this.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. And like actually just sitting in that feeling and being like, it's actually okay to feel sad and feel really sad and want to just cry and not do anything. And like just being compassionate to myself has been like a whole
journey in itself.
But I think like everyone, like not even just neurodiverse people, I think everyone needs to be a little bit more compassionate about like to themselves with stuff like that. Like when you're learning something new or discovering something about yourself, whether it be a diagnosis or like a relationship style or just something in general.
I mean, I suppose we're our own worst critics in general with everything. Like,
100%.
Whether it's at work or at home or being a parent, being a partner, like whatever that looks like. I feel like we're constantly, and I suppose that's where it comes in, like comparison's the thief of joy, where it's very easy to look at other people or what other people are doing and being like, well, if they're doing X, Y, Z, what's wrong with me? Why can't, why do they make it look so easy?
Yeah.
And I can't do X, Y, Z. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah. And I feel like even like since being diagnosed and like my whole Instagram feed and TikTok feed is all influencers with autism and ADHD. And I see like, again, it's probably just social media and what people are putting out there. And it's like, but you see them doing stuff and being successful and stuff. But I'm like, I want to see you when you aren't like this. I want like you to be a bit more real so I can be like, okay, like you are struggling as hard as I am. And you do have these days where it's like you're like bedridden from like just the burnout and the constant fatigue of like just the brain that never stops firing. Like it's exhausting, but you have to just get up and go sometimes. And it's like, it's all these things that are going on in the background.
Yep. I feel like there's been times where I almost feel like I've failed on social media when I've had mums say, you make it look so easy. And I'm like, 100%. Then I'm not being transparent enough because like it's more like you're sitting in a room and the whole house is on fire and everything's burning and you're just sitting with your cup of tea like
it's fine.
Getting through the day. Because I was like, it is not easy. Like please not be under any illusion.
Yeah.
it appears that on social media because it is absolutely not.
Like a influencer that I follow, Chloe Hayden, she's a big advocate for neurodiversity. She also has autism and I believe ADHD as well. And she recently, in the last couple of months, has really started posting about like, yes, we see her doing all these things like going to movie premieres and like she does like TED Talks and she does like talks and stuff like that. And then she's like recently just been posting like, I know you see all this stuff and you see me really thriving and being high functioning. And she's like, but this is what my day-to-day really looks like. And it's her in her hoodie, like in her hoodie, like, and she hasn't moved off the couch for 3 days because she's in total burnout and shutdown. And it's like, oh, like, it's cool.
Relatable.
Like it's relatable. And it goes, oh, okay, like it's fine for me to be like that. And I can be like that. And that's just part of my journey and part of my process. And it's not the end of the world if I have to be a potato for 4 days. Like as long as I'm safe and as long as I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like
social media is such a huge thing. And I think it is so important that if accounts that you follow, if they're not sparking joy, unfollow.
100%. Oh, my whole social media, like the last 12 months, I've just been on an unfollow, like just getting rid of them. Like it doesn't bring me
especially
joy.
With the algorithms.
Yeah. Like it's so quick to get out of control. Yeah. Like algorithms, like you'll watch 2 videos of something and then all of a sudden it's like,
I feel like all my algorithms is just like hot fit chicks. And I'm just like, love that for me. Because that must be what it thinks that I'm looking at probably am. But
it's funny. Yeah.
But no, I think that is important because obviously, social media is such a big part these days. Like it's a scary place. Obviously, like social media wasn't that big when you and I were at school. I know we had our MySpace and a bit of Bebo and some MSNing.
I think Facebook didn't even really come out until we were in
pretty much like grade 12,
school.
I think Facebook came out.
I remember when Instagram dropped. Oh my God. I remember getting Instagram for the first time and I was like, I love Instagram. And the filters. Oh my God.
You remember why I got Instagram, right? I only downloaded Instagram because we were having a fight when we lived together and you uploaded some passive aggressive bitchy caption and one of our other friends told me about it and I was like, really?
That sounds like 18-year-old Beck. Like that
so
sounds
I
like
downloaded Instagram just so I could see
it was
your post.
It was me not understanding why you were mad at me and I was just putting my feelings out to the world.
I think we were just fighting about cat litter at that point. But
it's just, I was getting straight to the point about how I felt.
And then look at us now.
Yeah, I know. Like,
it's so funny when people are like, oh, how'd you get an Instagram? I'm like, it is a kind of a funny story.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, now here you are with how many followers do you have?
Oh, God, far out. That's wild.
It's been a big journey.
I feel like we've like gone into some really different topics today. I feel like this has been so interesting. I found this so interesting.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, because I feel like all of these different aspects for you, it's almost like they're all sort of coming together. Like, you know, you've explored what you're looking for in relationships and then you're unpacking, you know, your autism, how your brain works. And then you've sort of brought that into your business, creating this inclusive space.
100%. And I think like all of those things had to happen in the series of events that they had to happen for like it all to kind of line up to where it is now.
Like it's all just like come together.
Yeah. And I think like it's all made me really dig deep into like myself and like really understand my core values. And I think everyone should really deep dive into like what their true core values are because I think your whole life revolves around it and like that's how you set boundaries, that's how you grow, that's
how you're like, happiest, right? When you're living within those core values, that's 100%. When we feel most ourselves, which is where we are happiest.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming, 100%. You know, obviously with having the untraditional relationships and the autism, you've probably had this, not a sense of not belonging, but like kind of, I guess.
Well, yeah, my whole life I literally felt like an alien. Like I'm just
so
like,
I don't understand. Creating the opposite of that or creating a space for other people that have felt like that, why that is such a driving force in your business.
And I think it really
like
comes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
It truly comes down to it. And it like when it all kind of clicked and like all of like I got my diagnosis and like I understand my relationship styles more. I was like, oh, this is why I'm so passionate
about this.
About XYZ because it is who I am truly deep down. And I think it really has driven my business and it's really driven like my passion for life and the way I want to live my life and the way I want my business to grow and the way I want my business to be represented and the way I want to be represented. And
I mean, our business is kind of like our baby, right? It's an extension of ourselves and our 100%. Values. And
and I think like if those things don't align, they'll never work.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, if people want to find you, if they want to come in your salon,
please do.
Can confirm, best hairdresser ever. Where do they find you?
You can find me in Nunda in Brisbane on the north side. The salon is called Black Flamingo Studio. Our salon tag is at Black Flamingo Studio, but black is just spelled BLK.
Yeah.
No vowels and no C. And then, or you can look up my personal, which is Rebecca_Black Flamingo Studio, but Rebecca is spelled REBEKAR.
It does me in constantly.
Just to confuse everyone. But if you look up Black Flamingo Studio, you will find me.
Amazing. Okay. Now this is a question that I am asking everyone that comes on.
Here we go.
If you could have any superpower in the world, what would it be?
Oh, God. I have thought about this way too much, and people are going to think I'm absolutely ridiculous, but Ant-Man is my favorite Marvel character, and the fact that he can shrink and be so minuscule and no one knows he exists, I would freaking love that. But he has like
what would you do with that?
But he has super strength.
So what, you want to shrink down little and just pick up heavy things?
Well, I just mean like I just like to not exist and still be able to
so you get to pick.
And still be able to do all the things that I want to do.
But where people can't see you and you can just vanish off the face of the earth for a bit and then come back.
But I can still get my stuff done because I'm super strong in my ant form. I know that sounds so bizarre, but it's my favorite, and I think I would love to do that. Yeah.
I would love that for you. Oh, that is so good.
Yeah, but that's
amazing.
It.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And